Was the weirdest way I've ever taken a drink of water. Why does it taste funny? Gross. TikTok might be getting banned, and for the dumbest reason ever. No, not because of the absolute weirdos that this app attracts, in the best and worst ways, of course, because a bunch of old government officials believe that this app is gonna convert us into a bunch of cold hard commies. If you don't know, TikTok, formerly known as Musical.ly, is a social media platform that allows users to post a video from about 3 seconds to about 10 minutes. There is truly a community for anyone on there, and like when I say anyone, I literally mean anyone. My 70-year-old grandma has TikTok. From recipes to recommendation to comedy skits to rants, anything that can fit in about a 10-minute video is going to be found on TikTok. Well, US government thinks that this app is potentially collecting our data and feeding us propaganda, which, let's be honest, could be said about most social media platforms or breeding grounds for misinformation and echo chambers galore. Not that TikTok is free from those criticisms, probably far from it, but the real issue seems to be the ownership of the app. It's important to know that TikTok is owned by its parent company, ByteDance. ByteDance is a Chinese company that is located in Beijing, China. However, TikTok itself is based in Singapore and our very own Los Angeles. Government thinks because TikTok is owned by ByteDance and ByteDance is a Chinese company, TikTok must be collecting American data and feeding us propaganda, as if American companies don't do enough of that on their own. Now, one of the more funnier things about this, if you could say any of this is funny, the government has not released proof of TikTok actually doing this. All the documents that they have submitted have been redacted. So, to play devil's advocate for a second, this could be totally legit. Or, in my opinion, the more likely answer is that this is just a bunch of bull. Did you see me using a metal straw? That's right, I care about the environment. In a mason jar. Let's be totally transparent here. TikTok has become a heavy hitter compared to a lot of other social media platforms. It just appeals to such a broader audience, and it's something that you can legit spend hours on. Not to mention the speed that this platform operates on, with the ability to get information on current events within seconds of it happening and being posted. But just as fast as that information can spread, so can misinformation. Either way, it gives you that immediate dopamine hit. And while not perfect, it has become a social media giant. This is one of the only apps in the last 5 years that is any real competition to the big three social media platforms, which, it should be said, all three of them are American companies. Now, do I think this is the only reason that they're banning the app? No. I'm sure it's a lot more complicated than that. Now, I'm not accusing or implying anything. Nothing is so black and white, and nothing is ever as simple as just let's ban the competitor, but I do think it benefits them a lot more to have the app gone. Now, it should be said they aren't outright banning the app. They are pulling it from the app stores and not allowing the app to be updated. But within weeks of not being able to do basic maintenance or fix any bugs on the app will slowly and surely become unusable, which essentially would ban the app. But of course, TikTok can avoid this ban by selling to an American company. That's right. Instead of just banning it outright, they so graciously gave TikTok the option to sell to an American buyer. Obviously, this is something that TikTok and ByteDance does not want to do. Not to mention, with the size of the app, there are very few buyers who can actually purchase the app for what it's worth. And that being said, TikTok says that if they do sell the app, they will not be selling the algorithm, meaning the buyer will have to start over from the beginning. It would just be an app called TikTok, and it wouldn't have the algorithm that it's known for. In doing research for this ban, I watched a bunch of TikToks of people talking about this ban. I read a lot of comments, and I kept noticing comments that kind of bugged me. Tries to ban this app every year, guys. It's not gonna happen. It never happens. And that just rubs me the wrong way because that is so untrue. I can understand how a lot of people can come to that conclusion, especially if you haven't really dived into it and you're just kind of seeing the surface level of what people are talking about the ban. But once you start to dive into it, you realize the ban that people were talking about is actually the same ban that just has been gaining more and more momentum over the years. It wasn't really anything to worry about until it became a bill. And then that bill got voted on and passed through both the House and the Senate. And then, of course, signed into law by President Biden. Now, neither Congress or the president have the power to say, oops, and take that back even if they wanted to. Now, rightfully so, TikTok is fighting the ban truly the only way that they can because it was signed into law, and that is by getting the law deemed unconstitutional. Which the only way they can do that is by taking it to the US court system. Which is sort of like when your mom tells you no, so you go and ask your dad. Either way, you probably aren't winning, but you definitely can give it a shot and it might happen. Now, it has already gone to court once, and the court ruled that in fact the ban is constitutional and it should continue to go through, that it doesn't infringe on any rights. Fortunately, the good news for TikTok is there actually is one more string of hope for them, and that is the Supreme Court. Now, the Supreme Court, to my surprise, actually decided to pick up the case. Now, they have the power to stop or even temporarily postpone the ban. They'll be hearing the case on January 10th. Which the ban goes into effect January 19th. From that date, they will decide if they want to hear this case out more and potentially postpone the ban, or decide that this really isn't worth digging into and just kind of leave it at that and let the ban go into effect. Right now, we literally have no idea what they're going to decide. Personally, I can see them leaning to not wanting to ban the app or finding some other kind of like compromise. Honestly, it's kind of hard to say at this point like which way the courts are going to lean. Everyone's pretty sure that this was going to be deemed unconstitutional a long time ago, and the fact that it hasn't really is not looking too hopeful. At the very least, I think that they will try to hear TikTok out, and unfortunately, their decision is going to be final. The future of this app is just so uncertain, and I feel like a lot of this is just so unnecessary. I feel like I can understand the concerns of the government. It's just always odd when someone is claiming something so deeply but doesn't seem to have any proof or evidence to back it up. It's really weird to me that they're going either way to hide the evidence by redacting it. I feel like we should have the right to know if there is something truly going on like that. Like I said, the whole thing is very odd to me because if I had proof that an app was directly hurting people by selling their information, or even if it's purposely spreading misinformation, I feel like I would want to show people, they can take that information for what they will. Then it's no surprise if they do end up banning the app, and there's not going to be this public outcry that we're seeing with the banning of TikTok. Everyone that I've talked to is against this. This is not what the American people want. I feel like this is something that both sides agree on, that we do not want this app taken away from us. And I thought that we made our voices very clear. But with the ban obviously going through and the judges saying that it's not unconstitutional, kind of leans that they don't exactly care what we want, which when have they ever cared what we want? But that's besides the point. I think the part that makes me the most upset is that they're not considering the small businesses and creators that this is directly affecting. Banning TikTok is banning the TikTok shop, which has given many people a pretty healthy income, making small businesses financially stable and able to sustain themselves by giving them a place to grow where they can both advertise and sell their product. Even if it's not providing a full-time income, it's still providing some kind of money that these people are using towards their families. And this is how a lot of people are feeding themselves and their kids. And I think ignoring this is completely unethical and something that I just never will stand behind, because you are literally taking jobs and businesses away from people. Maybe not directly, but indirectly, not to mention the impact on the economy that TikTok Shop has. I don't exactly have the numbers on it, but TikTok Shop has provided a lot of good for the US economy, and ignoring that is completely ignorant. Once again, they're doing all of this because of the possibility that TikTok might or could be taking our data. I'd love to leave on a high note, but unfortunately, as of the time filming this, it is only January 9th. So tomorrow, TikTok will be going in front of the Supreme Court to plead their case. I don't want creators or users of this app to be discouraged. There will be workarounds like VPNs and different kind of browsers and things like that, and that you can still use the app after it gets banned and after it's completely unusable. But remember that none of this has to end here or end on January 19th. Media is constantly changing and evolving, and so are you. If that means you have to switch platforms or find another app, and that is something that we're going to have to do. Will there ever be another TikTok? I'm really not sure. I have hope that this app doesn't get banned and this video will age like milk. I actually really hope that that's the case. and that we get to stay on this and never think about this ever, ever again because this is deemed unconstitutional. TikTok really is lightning in a bottle. I always think that we should always hope for the best, but unfortunately, prepare for the worst. With that being said, if you enjoyed listening to this, feel free to hit that subscribe button and follow me on my other socials. I'm Raylan, and I will be seeing you guys in the next video. Bye!